Merci, Monsieur Parenteau. Madame McIntyre.
Président. On October 21st of 2010, the Minister of Canadian Heritage officially declared April 6th as Tartan Day. So we are greatly indebted today to our colleague, Mr. Downey, and I would like to thank him for the initiative of bringing this to City Council. I would further like to request that my name be added as a supporter of this declaration. Thank you. It is, of course, the anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Arbroath in 1320, which is the Scottish Declaration of Independence. According to the latest census figures, there are over 4.7 million Canadians, 15% of the population of Canada, who claim Scottish descent. Here in Quebec, some 200,000 claim Scottish ancestry. There are many famous Scottish Canadians. The first Prime Minister of Canada, Sir John A. Macdonald, born in Glasgow, Scotland. First leader of the New Democratic Party and father of universal healthcare, Tommy Douglas, born in Falkirk, Scotland. Scientist, engineer, and inventor credited with the invention of the first telephone, and the founding member of the National Geographic Society, Alexander Graham Bell, born in Edinburgh, Scotland. Economist John Kenneth Galbraith, whom among his many published economic works, is also the author of The Scotch, a memoir of growing up in Canada that he considered his finest piece of writing. There are, of course, many icons of modern Canadian culture who claim Scottish heritage, such as filmmaker James Cameron, singer-songwriter Sarah McLachlan, and too many others to name here. Here in Montreal, McGill University was founded in 1821 with revenue from the estate bequeathed by James McGill, a merchant and politician who had immigrated from Glasgow, Scotland. Peter Redpath, another Scot, financed the museum, the library, and a university chair. A brief history of Scots in Canada. In 1622, Sir William Alexander obtained permission from King James VI of Scotland to establish a new Scotland, the province of Nova Scotia. But there were few Scots in Canada prior to 1800. Those who came were primarily Highlanders, seeking political and religious asylum following the failed Jacobite uprisings in Scotland in the 18th century, and then later, more after being forced off their land to make way for the British government's agricultural reform. Others came as a result of crop failure, seeking refuge from famine. War, religious strife, and famine. So many of the recurring themes in human history that have caused people from many nations then and now to turn to Canada as a new beginning, a place of hope, and a refuge. The places that they leave behind are as varied as the languages and the customs that they bring with them, and it is my fervent hope that Canada, Quebec, Montreal will continue to be the beacon of light to people of all nations who seek a better life here. Between 1867 and the 1920s, the Canadian government sent emissaries who actively recruited Scottish and Irish immigrants to settle in sparsely populated Western Canada. Many Scots, including my family, arrived in Canada during this period. Those who came on hope and a prayer, and they endured great hardship and toil, which over generations has come to fruition and remains a source of strength and pride for Scottish Canadian families. Scottish Canadians' sense of heritage is informed by stories, narratives, and myths of the homeland's rural, rugged, resistant, often brutal, and much romanticized past. For example, traditional Highland dancing is still practiced and performed not just by Scots, but by anyone for whom jumping up and down on your toes over pointed swords seems like a good idea of fun. And I invite you to join me sometime, as I am one of the practitioners of this art form. Traditional bagpipe music, the many new forms of Celtic music and dance, and festivities such as Robbie Burns Day are other enduring elements of Scottish heritage. And I won't even get into haggis. Today, these cultural practices are just part of a rich mosaic of the many nations and cultures that make up Canada. On April 6th,
En conclusion,
we will wear our tartans with pride as we remember the successes and the sacrifices of our Scottish ancestors. For, as it is so well put in the song by Spirit of the West, there's none more Scots than the Scots abroad. There's a place in our hearts for the old sod.